West Ham United will be attempting to build on our much-needed victory over Chelsea when we visit Newcastle at St James's Park on Sunday afternoon. Behind closed doors, no fans will be there again. West Ham, of course, eased our relegation fears with the surprise victory against Chelsea, but we do remain in the mix at the bottom of the table, whereas Newcastle have now surpassed the 40-point mark. I mean, who would have thought that? Certain matches and results can often prove to be the turning points in a club season, and West Ham, of course, will certainly be hoping that Sunday's action-packed 3-2 victory over Chelsea is one of those. In the meantime, Newcastle have hit the ground running when they've returned. They've been playing with a lot of freedom that was lacking when the fans were in the stadium before lockdown. They averaged 0.9 goals per game in the Premier League, whereas since the return, they have netted 8 league goals, an average of 2.7 per game. I'm Anton. Welcome back to Irons United. I am, of course, joined by Matt. Matt, Newcastle United. Thoughts?
They're a bit of a bogey team. Not going to lie. I think this is if they beat us tomorrow, they'd have done the double overs twice in 3 years. Like it's not an easy place to go if they're up for it. If the Newcastle, obviously it's a bit harder with no fans, but it's historically not an easy place to go. St James's Park, and like you just said, pre-lockdown you'd have been thinking, yeah, they've been struggling, but in credit to them, they have been one of the form teams since the restart.
Yeah.
I mean, on paper, we should be able to match them, but nothing's ever done on paper, is it? And it honestly depends. Do we take this confidence in and play with it, or do we go there again and just revert back to sitting on our shell and let them have all the possession and try and get on the counter?
Well, I suppose though, like you've got to look at the two teams. I mean, in particular, Newcastle, who have hit the ground running, like I've said at the start. An average of 2.7 goals per match in the comparison to 0.9 goals beforehand. Yes, I know it's 3 games, but that oozes and breathes confidence within a squad who all around, there's similarities between the West Ham and Newcastle situation with the ownership, the fans, the club underachieving, year in, year out. Steve Bruce, I mean, he's up for the Manager of the Month award. When he was signed to Newcastle, I mean, I think a lot of Newcastle fans were absolutely tearing him to shreds. But he's really come in and, maybe that's not put the pressure on him, to be honest. Maybe he's just thought, I've got nothing to lose. What's your thoughts on Steve Bruce and what he's done at Newcastle?
Yeah, it's a funny one because I remember very, very we're going way back now, the start of the season. They were a lot of people's relegation favourites because they brought in Bruce. Everyone was saying Benitez had worked wonders the last couple of years, keeping them up with no money. I mean, they spent money this summer. They brought in a couple of fantastic players. But they weren't expected as well as they are. Is that Steve Bruce overachieving, or would people say that maybe they could do better with their squad? They've got somewhat of a well-rounded squad now. They've got options off the bench. They've got pace. They've got technical players. So the team is there, which maybe people thought it wasn't. I mean, Bruce, don't be wrong, I wouldn't want Bruce as my manager. I know a lot of Newcastle fans still don't want him, but you can't argue with the results. Maybe, it's a bit like when we had Allardyce. Not everyone liked him, didn't like his style of play. Yeah. Yes, since the start of the restart, it's been a bit different. They've been a lot more attacking. I don't know if maybe they've done a lot more work in like, say the off season than everyone else. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think he doesn't have a great record in the Premier League. He as a whole, his percentage record is one of the worst. He has a record for getting teams relegated, which obviously is not going to happen this year. But the thing about tomorrow for him is, how's he going to motivate his team now? Up until this point, it's been avoid relegation. It's like Sam Allardyce at West Ham. You knew as soon as we got to 40 points that we'd be on the beach.
Yeah.
And they're there now. And as good as they were when they put 4 goals past Bournemouth the other day, that was Bournemouth's worst performance of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone said it. I mean, the players came out and said it was embarrassing that they sat in the dressing room for half an hour talking about it.
Yeah.
So you've got to take a bit of context. Yes, they've scored 8 goals, but they put 4 past the second worst team in the division, who are now today sitting on minus 29 goals.
But the interesting thing is, they could easily take their foot off the brake, but they do have fitness doubts hanging over them for this game in particular. They've got potentially 4 quite important players that are potentially going to be missing, including their record signing Joel Linton. I know he's not scored loads of goals, but he's been he's been decent in his return back since the team have come back. Sean Longstaff looks like he'll be missing for the game. Javi Manquillo and Jamal Lascelles. So there's 4 kind of key players for the Newcastle squad that will struggle. But what that does allow, though, is them to give other players in that squad an opportunity, and there'll be players that will be hungry to try and prove that they've got something. I mean, are we going to say it? The man himself, Andy Carroll, for example. I mean, see, when you look into the stats of what he's done since he's been at Newcastle, I mean, he's coming off the bench all the time. He's the joint top assists player. And I'm not for 1 minute saying I regret letting him go, but we all know he's unplayable when he's fit. Is this the sort of game that's lined up for a guy like Andy Carroll? And, of course, let's not forget John Joe Shelvey, who's their top goal scorer with 5 goals, who is a West Ham fan, been linked to West Ham every year.
I mean, Shelvey came off the bench the other day. So with Longstaff out, it would make sense that he would probably go in for him.
Yep.
I still don't think they'll start Carroll. They started Dwight Gale the other day, so it depends if they're going to go 2 up top or 1 up top.
Mm-hmm.
If they go one up top, I think they'll start Gale. I think the reason they've been able to get these bits out of Carroll is that he hasn't really started games.
Yeah.
He's been able to come off the bench as an impact sub.
But he has a really good rest. In actual fact, if you really think about Carroll's career when he was at West Ham in particular, you've got to think about it was a stop-start opportunity. He never really got the non-injured rest that he needed. Every time we were in a pre-season, he was injured, trying to get back to recovery. Now, the last 3 months, he's had that recovery period. He's got the opportunity here now to play these 9 games in a couple of months, and then he's got the potential to have another recovery period before he kind of hits the ground running. Now, listen, I'm not trying to sing his praises over the top here. I'm just trying to give it a bit of clarity, and considering we know what West Ham are like when we come up against either an ex-player or a player we've been strongly linked to, say, upset West Ham for it, but we can't fault what they're both doing at Newcastle.
Well, no, but then at the same time, they played to his strengths. As I said,
Yeah.
he's mostly come off the bench. And when he's come off the bench, he's been the target man. He's had people in and around him.
Yeah.
Even this year, we've struggled to do it with Haller up top in his own. We haven't had people around him. And Haller has been fit and played, well, he's played, I think, 27 games this year. I don't know how many games Carroll's played, but when he's come off the bench, he has come with people around him. He hasn't just been like we had, up front on his own, chasing down lost alleys, because that's not his style of play. He's had someone else to do the running, like a Joe Linton or a John Joe Shelvey or Maxim. They've had players there to do it.
Yeah.
Because you don't want him doing that. But also, I said they've managed him well, which is something we never did. When you've got a player of his injury record, you cannot go to him. You spent 3 months on the sidelines, you're back. You're going back in the first team, so we need you to play, because we're desperate in a relegation battle again. Bruce has been smart enough to go, look, we do need you, but we'd rather have you for 4 months than have you for 3 weeks. Yeah. So you'll play 10 minutes, then you'll play 15 minutes, then you'll play 20 minutes. He could start today, and he's going to make changes because his fifth game in 15 days.
Yeah.
So there's going to be changes. It might work out for us because, too many changes can disrupt the first team. It can disrupt the flow.
Yeah.
As you
but
said,
like you said, though, they played Bournemouth the other night. Okay, it's questionable whether or not Bournemouth played well, but at the end of the day, that's a game that prior to, whatever, Newcastle, there's similarities there between West Ham. It's the sort of game that they would potentially slip up on. But what they did do was they changed it up. And for example, you mentioned there, Dwight Gale got a brace. And the player you mentioned there, who's also up for the Premier League's Player of the Month award, is Saint Maxim. He got 3 assists against Bournemouth. And has had scored 2 goals. And they've taken into consideration the first week of March's performance prior to COVID, and obviously his first 3 games back in return. What I mean, in particular, I mean, I've named you there, St. Maxim. Who are the players that you fear the most at Newcastle?
Well, Joe Linton, I wouldn't really say I'd ever fear Joe Linton, even if he plays or not, because he's the sort of striker we'd have. He's a guy that doesn't score a lot of goals, but he does a lot of work.
Yeah.
Maxim terrifies me. I suppose maybe not as much now because Zabaleta doesn't play for us anymore. But I'm still having horrors of the first game. Was it back in November?
I can't get my head around him sometimes. I think sometimes he looks like he wants to do so much trickery that he gets lost on the ball, but then he's got the ability to bring it back from absolutely nowhere sometimes, and he does.
He just overthinks.
He does ridiculous things sometimes, and sometimes he gets himself into fantastic spaces, and then screws it up somehow because he's trying to do something funky.
But that's the difference between a Premier League player and a top 4 player.
Yeah,
that's what he's missing, is that decisiveness. If he could get himself nailed down to always making the right decision, he'd be like a Raheem Sterling.
Yeah,
he's got the pace, he's got the trickery, he's got the finishing ability. Like I said, I'm still remembering the first game. I think it was back in November when he absolutely tore us apart.
Yeah,
we all knew it. We put Zabaleta on, and we all knew it. And I think he got a goal and 2 assists that day, right? Or a goal and an assist. We nearly got back in it after he came off, which he shouldn't have come off. But with Fredericks, I mean, it'd be him and the other guy I'd probably say would be Almiron.
Yeah.
Because again, on his day, he's a fantastically technical player. You've got Shelby, who will hold the ball up well. They're a well-rounded team, but I think you're looking for that little bit of flair and something different. It would come out of Sam Maxim.
Yeah. Can we really come away from the fact that maybe John Joe Shelby is looking likely he's going to start? I mean, we know on his day he's a top-notch footballer as well. He can ping a pass. I mean, I think we've had debates internally at Iron United saying, would you take him? Would you take him? And I know your thoughts on that, Matt. You absolutely wouldn't take him. I've always kind of been on the side of caution. I've always gone depends on the price. I think he's a good squad player for West Ham. Can he add something to us? I think he could. This is not a transfer show. I'm just trying to give you my kind of thoughts on the sort of player that I think John Joe Shelby is. His heart lies with the club. Definitely, we know that. I think he's got a home in Essex, etc. But Steve Bruce, what's their kind of weak points then? Newcastle. I mean, I think we've discussed it beforehand. Goals.
Yeah, they don't. Well, pre-lockdown, shall we say? But obviously, I'd say I think the stat gets a bit weighed when you take the fact that they did ship a load past Bournemouth, who were genuinely awful that day. They generally don't score a lot of goals.
Yeah.
But at the start of the season, they were shipping a lot of goals.
Yeah.
And Bruce was tinkering with the squad. He was tinkering with formation a lot. But as the season went on, he sort of seemed to settle down into, okay, this is what we're playing now. And they started to shut up and not ship as many goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let me read you the stats for the full season, Matt. They've played 32 times. They've won 11 games. They've lost 12. They've scored 33. They've conceded 43. The but here is they've had 10 clean sheets.
Yeah.
10, which is...
But they've shipped 43 goals.
But
because
they've
at
shipped
the start
43.
of the season, they were shipping goals left, right and centre.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone was saying, what a mistake it was to bring him in. But he has, in his credit, but like I said, like Big Sam style, he's gone, okay. They spent a lot of time tinkering with the 3 at the back, 4 at the back, 5 at the back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what formation he played the other day against Bournemouth, but, he's found the formation that he wants now. He has general players. He knows he can bring in like for likes. Lascelles could be a big miss for them if he's not fit.
Yeah.
Because he is the guy that sort of dictates their midfield. He's the one that does all the work, the captain. So, but I mean, they've got other players they bring. They've brought in someone like, I don't know, Fernandez could possibly come in. They've got other players at centre back they could bring in. But I don't think they'll risk him. You've got to try and look at try and get him past them.
Yeah.
Get in behind them, get in about them, parry him. The thing with the Bournemouth game and why they've done so well is that he's got them pressing from the front very well, Newcastle. Defensively, they press from the front as a unit. When one man goes, another man goes, another man goes. And I think 2 or 3 of the goals that Bournemouth conceded the other night come from trying to play out from the back. They can see one in the first 5 minutes where they literally, the goalkeeper played the ball to the hold midfielder on the edge of the box with his back to the centre forward. He turned into him. They passed it to White Gale and he scored. So if you can cut out and play like they play and play it up to the centre forward quick and not play out from the back and try and pass it about like Bournemouth did, you cut out some of their, shall we say, defensive tactics in trying to unsettle the players and press.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's get on to our our beautiful, interesting club that just constantly keep on surprising us every single day of every single week of every single month of every single year. West Ham haven't won back-to-back league games since August, and we haven't kept a clean sheet in 12 of the outings since New Year's Day. Our away form is truly abysmal. 7 successive away defeats, which is what our worst run is in 2006. Although something to be interested about here is West Ham have thrown away a league-high 22 points from winning positions this season. If you were to add those to their tally, they would be sitting in a Champions League contention. Now, I'm just trying to give you the point. You know, we can maybe start off all right, drop off, etc. But instead, we're finding ourselves battling relegation. Let's look at the game against Chelsea in particular. And, you know, West Ham bounced back. That's the West Ham we want to see, Matt. What is it? What is it with West Ham that we just have not a single idea what West Ham are going to turn up? Why are we the most bipolar football club that you know?
Because we haven't had any centre-backs for 3 years. Sorry, we haven't had any full-backs for 3 years. We spent the last 3 summers saying, we need a right-back and a left-back and hold midfielder. 3 years we've been saying that. I mean, what year was we supposed to be signing Carvalho?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Was that 2016?
Yeah.
And it took this January to go and get a hold midfielder because Mark Noble called out the owners after the game against West Brom and said, you cannot rely on me to keep doing this when I'm 34. It's not, it's not rocket science. We haven't had a hold midfielder. I mean, that's the point of the Chelsea game. You know, do you notice how much more of an offensive attacking unit Declan Rice was? Because he didn't have to constantly follow Mark Noble around the pitch to cover for him when he got caught out because he hasn't got the legs to cover it anymore. Yes, he can come on for 20, 30 minutes at the end, but in this structure we're in, the way the game's played now, Mark Noble can't cover the pitch like he could 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's one of the big problems we've had. And as soon as that was in, and he could just leave Souček sitting there, you know, the second goal was scored against Chelsea, that brilliant bit of play, the passing play between Lanzini, Fornals and Declan Rice.
Yeah.
And Declan Rice whipped that ball into Antonio. If Noble was playing, I don't think you'd have seen that pass. I don't think Rice would have taken himself that far up the pitch for the fear of not being able to cover at the back because it'd only been Noble sitting there.
Yeah, of course. What? So, do you think then the biggest decision from the other night was that Noble was rested? However, you want to look at it.
Well, apparently, he had like a niggle, didn't he?
Yeah.
But I think you can't go back on it now. I think we've proven. Because don't forget, I said in the preview for that game that I can't remember the last time we actually won a game when Noble wasn't part of the 18-man squad. Because there was a stat that it's been a long, long time. And I think every manager that's come in, they know that Mark Noble's the guy. You get your arm around Mark Noble, you'll get the dressing room on side. And he has been a fantastic servant. He's a good technical player.
He's still got something to offer.
But he's 33 and he's been in the first team since he was 16. He's played first team football almost consistently for 17 years. And when I say almost consistently, he doesn't get many bad injuries.
Yeah.
I still remember, was it last time Bilic was here? Sorry, last time David Moyes was here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the season, he was dragging on. And we were all sitting there saying, his legs are gone. And like the day after the season finished, they went, Mark Noble needs a hernia, Rob. He's been running with a hernia for like 6 months.
Such a West Ham thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah. And now that you've found him, I don't think he will have as much of a prominent role as he's had. I think he'll still be the club captain. I mean, there's rumours going around he's going to be gone in a year's time. The rumours going around that this next year's his last year, apparently. Yeah. Which he'll be 35 next summer.
But I tell you what, though, Matt, he's still got something to offer in some format. You know, he's someone you want in and around the tide. He's someone that you want to. He's definitely got years in his boots to come on for the last 20 minutes. He's definitely the sort of guy, you know, do you know how when West Ham sometimes go defensively and you start to see Balbuena coming on with 10 minutes to go? I would absolutely rather Noble come on every single one of those games to shut up shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I
By the
think
time
he would
we
accept a
started.
role like that at West Ham, no problem at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, but what I was saying is, us as a unit, I think we've struggled with that holding midfielder position for years because you've been having Noble do it on his own, and he had Rice come in. And by the time Rice came in, Noble's legs started going, a bit like Rooney.
Yeah.
If you see Rooney Championship, he's banging in free kicks left, right, and centre every week because the ability's still there, but he didn't have the legs, so he dropped down the position. I don't
So
think Noble will drop down. I don't think Noble will go anywhere else.
is this the man? Is this the man? I mean, let's discuss Souček and his performance against Chelsea. For me personally, I thought that he was started off since we came. Like, obviously, his career at West Ham has been short, 7 games. Prior to COVID-19, I thought he was fantastic. I was so impressed with this guy. We've come back, and he's been a little bit quiet in the first couple of games, but he was absolutely more than anything back to his best the other night against Chelsea. How do you rate Souček in particular his performance against Chelsea?
He was one of my favourite. I think he had one of the best 3 or 4 performances on the pitch.
Yeah,
he's very reliable. He defensively reads the game well. He tracks back. He covers the pitch well. He's a unit as well. And like you were saying about bringing on Bowen for the last 10 minutes, you could quite easily bring on Noble and put Souček or Rice into the back 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you look back at that, it's been a long time since we've had big physical presence in the whole midfield. We've had Declan Rice, but there's not been long, like a Kuarte. Yeah. We let him go. And I had the problem letting him go because I think at the time he got to the point where he needed like a fresh face. He needed some new place to work. I don't think his heart was in it anymore at West Ham. We never replaced him. And I think Souček's coming in is that replacement. He gets around the pitch. He's physical.
Did you see his stats though? Did you see his stats against Chelsea? The guy made 4 interceptions, 4 clearances, 3 tackles. He won 8 of his aerial battles, twice as anyone else on the pitch that night. I mean, the guy was, Balbuena's got the name the engine, but the general, but he felt more like the general of the midfield, like you said, the midfielder we've been missing. And to be honest, apart from the 2 games prior to the Chelsea game, where I don't think many players did perform well anyway, but prior to the season stopping, he was showing mega signs of being the quality player that West Ham have been looking for such a long time. Box to box, he's definitely got that offering. And, he likes to get forward. He really likes to get forward, doesn't he? That was seen, I suppose, with his potential, 2 goals in the space of a couple of minutes, even though one was chopped off.
I think he'd scored in the Czech League. I think he scored like 12 goals this year.
Yeah.
As a holding midfielder. Because when you get in that box, you can see that he is, he's 6'4". So yes, he has got an every presence. But if it's like the goal against Chelsea, the one he actually scored, Aspilicueta's not short, and he just towelled over the top of him.
Yeah.
Which is something we need, a bit like an Andy Carroll. But it's the physicality, and it's his defensive ability to read the game. His first thing isn't, I need to bomb forward. His first thing is, where can I help out with the defence? What can I cover? Where can I get about? And I think it was the Man City game before the lockdown. He ran 15 kilometres or something, which is the most any West Ham player would run in 6 years.
Absolutely.
He is, a lot of pundits, after that Chelsea game, a lot of pundits are saying, well, who's this guy? Where's he come from? He's I think it's we've got to pay 17 million. As long as we stay up, we've got to pay 17 million to buy him. And you think about how well he's done for a 25-year-old, that's an absolute steal.
Yeah, he's worth every single penny, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about another player that I thought played really well and grabbed a couple of assists the other night, Jared Bowen. I've been really impressed with this guy in terms of his tracking back. I've always gone on about a player who's got the skill set in terms of moving forwards. We need players that are going forward sometimes to stay forward. Everyone always talks about tracking back, but this guy's got the ability to get back, help the team out, and get forward. That just seems to be how he strives, how he works. The other night he grabbed a couple of assists. His corners, I know the game's not all about it, but there's nothing more frustrating than when you get an opportunity to be in the final third and you get a corner or a set piece and it doesn't go past the first man. Because West Ham, for the past couple of seasons, we can't get that ball past the first man. But he was finding players left, right, and centre when he wanted to, pinging those balls in.
He should have been taking them as soon as he got here. If David Moyes had actually watched him in the Championship this year and last year, he was whole set piece taker.
Yeah.
But he scores free kicks. He knows how to take a free kick.
Yeah.
And he's a left footer. You know, I saw someone on one of our videos the other day said he was like a young Robert Snodgrass. Which, yeah, he is. That is literally what he is.
Yeah.
If you took Snodgrass, you took like 7 years off his age and made him down to young 23
hard work, just a hard working midfielder.
Like you said, he's got the ability to go past people, and he's got that technical left foot.
Yeah.
And I think, I'll be honest, since January, he's probably been our best player since he came into the team. And a lot of pundits have noticed that as well. You know, he's taken like a duck to water. You know, we spent 23 million on a guy in the championship, and everyone's going, "Oh, you know, it's a championship player. Is he going to do it?" I had a friend. I've got a lot of Chelsea mates, and they were like, "Who is this guy, and where did he come from, and why has no one heard of him?" Like, they were blown away with his performance the other night.
Yeah.
They were like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, we bought him from Hull for 20 million," and they were like, "That's all you paid for him?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yep. Well, yeah, I thought he's definitely proven his worth so far since he's been at the club. And
he's already paid it.
And it's about playing these players to their advantage, and you know that's what we need to do. But let's talk about Mr. Beast Mode Antonio. I mean, he worked his backside off. I think I said in the review, Matt, that if he had the ability to actually finish, like, I don't know, I can't think of another player who finds himself in so many good positions. Like, he genuinely finds himself in so many good positions. Like, if he had the ability to shoot from distance like Harry Kane does, if he had the ability to take on a player and pass that ball past the keeper like Aguero does, for example, then Antonio has everything else.
But he reminds me like Traore at Wolves, except Traore's now worked on his final ball. You know, but he's an enigma, Antonio. Someone made a point the other day. They put a picture up. You know, the first chance against Chelsea where he sort of managed to bundle. He dribbled past the two of them and he had an awful shot and he dragged it wide.
And then Lanzini slid it.
And they said, how can he be so good and so shit in the same second?
Yeah.
Because he's just done this amazing bit of skill and pace and strength to get past the two of them into the space.
But it's forgivable.
And he hasn't got a composer to finish.
It is forgivable with Antonio because he's not an out-and-out striker. But, I mean, let's talk about stats again. He touched the ball more times, 49 times the other night. You know, it shows that he was just his work rate left, right and centre. He had 5 shots, more than any other West Ham player on the night. His tireless running with and without the ball. His hold-up ball play, I mean, there was a couple of times the ball was dropping into his chest, dropping into his feet. I mean, we all know what he's capable of. He holds the player back. He holds the defenders back. He's got the strength. He's got the ability. He's got to wait. You know, that's... The other night in particular, Matt, I don't know if you noticed, a couple of times West Ham really pressed Chelsea, and Chelsea defence and goalkeepers panicked. And the minute we did that, it was just, you know, you felt the G up from the team. You felt the pressure put onto those sides. When West Ham do that, teams don't like it.
Well, because Antonio G's them up. Like, Antonio will run himself in. People, West Ham fans know this, and we will appreciate it. Like, you know, people say, "Oh, you know, what's the West Ham way?" West Ham way is this laughable thing. They think we should be Barcelona. No, the West Ham way is just roll your socks up and put a shift in. Yeah. If you do that and you do it, we won't say anything else. And you know, you get that. He will give you 150% every game, Antonio.
Absolutely.
And he expects the same for everyone else. You know, when he goes running, when he chases that lost ball, and everyone else goes, "Oh, you know, let's push up, let's start chasing, let's press." And he leads it from the front as a good example. He's never going to be a clinical finisher. He's not. He's the guy you'd play alongside the clinical finisher to do the work, the leg calls work. You know, you think like we had Hernandez. They're the sort of two you wouldn't want to have played together because you can leave Hernandez in the width of the box and Antonio does all the running. The same why it's worked so well. And we've had, in those few games, we had Haller with Antonio.
Yeah. Because
Antonio can hold the ball up, he can win it in the air, but it also has got pace to burn. There's very few players that can keep up with him. When he runs past him, he just goes. He's gone.
Yeah, of course. Well,
let's have physical presence. That's why he does it so well, because he's built like a house.
Let's talk about some team news, and after the team news, we'll talk about one other player that performed really well the other night when he made a substitute appearance. But it looks like Noble will be assessed ahead of the game, as will Hilaire, potentially Anderson, who's supposedly picked up a little bit of a knock, and Masuaku. But of course, we know that Snodgrass is missing. But with the performance of Yarmolenko coming off the bench, I don't know what camp you're in. You've obviously got these camps that fans are like, either for or against Yarmolenko. For me, I think if you've players got the ability, then you've just got to look at the way he's managed. I personally think Yarmolenko's the sort of guy that's been mismanaged by West Ham. We've got a long history of mismanaging players left, right, and centre. And some people say, what has he really done for the club? But equally, when has he ever had a really good, strong run in that side? And if he did play well one game, he started the next game, and after 45 minutes, he was substituted off. And I don't know if that's enough time to give a player of his quality time to, show. And I know people say the Premier League's harsh in terms like that, but the guy's goal scoring record in his whole career is fantastic. You put him in those positions, Matt. And the key thing I want to say to you before I give you kind of your chat on Yarmolenko, when the ball was played, he was obviously online. He was ahead of the Chelsea defender once he received the ball. He could have continued running, but he doesn't have the legs to do that. But he has the ability to cut inside and shoot. He is extremely clever at that. Or sometimes he cuts both ways to trick the defender. But when you put him in those positions, when he's a little bit further forward, that's exactly the Yarmolenko that West Ham need. Is that something that West Ham can do, or do you see him being used or utilised a little bit more moving forward?
Well, I think that's why, I think if we go back to the preview before the Chelsea game, I think we all said we'd play Yarmolenko up front.
Yeah.
He's not in the same physical build, but he reminds me entirely of Arnautovic.
Yeah.
He's not got... Arnautovic was slightly more quick pace than he is, but you could see, it's the 89th minute, he came on with 20 minutes to go. In that half hour he had running, he had to do 20 minutes running, he had to do. You could see that he just pulled away from Alonso.
Yeah.
Now, if that had been the first minute, I don't think it'd been the same thing. So, but if you've got someone, like I said, Antonio, up front with him doing the running, both in interviews after the game, I think David Moyes, Declan Rice, and Mark Noble all said once he got in that position, they knew it was a goal.
Yeah.
And I knew it as soon as Rudiger was stupid enough to let him go on his left foot. I was like, this is a goal. Because he is with his left foot, he is extremely technically good. He's done it across all of Europe.
But he's technically good just as generally as a player. Like, I know he's technically his left foot's on fire, etc. We know that. And they all backed it up by saying he does it in training every single week. The guy's got over 100 goals. Was it Dortmund?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just under 100 goals, I think it is, with him. So he is definitely capable. And listen, I know he's getting on a little bit in age, but he's still not that old. He's had a really bad injury at West Ham. He'd done his Achilles. So I'm not trying to say he's remote. When you're in a relegation dogfight, every single year you need something from someone or a pair. If you are going to fight for that, you're always going to have that player. You think of Hartson and Kitson, you think of Tevez, you think of... I'm just trying to think of survival seasons with West Ham, but we need something in that fight, that determination, that ability, someone who can take their chances. That gave, with Haller coming back potentially, what can you see happening with West Ham against Newcastle? Did we save Haller for the Newcastle game? Will you see many changes happening? A lot of people say don't change a winning side.
Well, we've got to remember this was it either the Chelsea game or the game tomorrow is the start of 4 games in like 13 days.
Yeah.
Which will define our season. So I think Haller's been saved. Will he play the Newcastle game? I don't know. Because we've then got the Burnley game on Wednesday. We're playing, we've literally got Newcastle Sunday afternoon, and then Wednesday night we've got Burnley.
Yeah.
So he could even be saved for Burnley. But I think with Yarmolenko, he proved when he came on, he put in a defensive effort, which I was quite surprised about. He did do the tracking back, he did do the hassling, he did try and cut out the crosses. But like I said, you talked about people that are survived, like our heroes we always get from survival seasons. Like I said, Arnautovic was that one a couple of years back when Moyes came in. Arnautovic was Moyes' guy. And Yarmolenko could honestly do the same thing. If you put him up front with an Antonio, who's going to do all the running, because Yarmolenko can break an offside trap, and if he gets on his left foot, he'll score.
Yeah,
I couldn't say the same about Antonio.
Yeah,
if Antonio broke the offside trap, he's a fantastic technical player, Yarmolenko.
Yeah,
he is. He's not someone I'd want to put on the wing right now.
I'm getting the vibe
Not-
though from you, Matt. I'm getting the vibe from you though, Matt, that you would like to see him start up top against Newcastle.
I would.
Like, I'll tell you what, before we move on, if you are watching, make sure you get your comments in below. Let us know your thoughts on what we've discussed. Get your team selections in. Let us know what your starting 11 would be, because we will go through who we think we would like to do. The problem you've got here is we don't know who's going to test positive for COVID throughout this whole process, and we don't know what the team selections will be like, because we think there's definitely going to be movement, probably realistically every game. So comment with your starting 11 and let us know your thoughts. Matt, let's talk about our starting 11, and we can maybe discuss a few of the West Ham players moving on. So Fabianski, I mean, he's been quiet since he's been back. He's not had a huge amount to do, to be honest. But I mean, it's a no-brainer. He'll be in there in that position.
He'll be in. Yeah.
How do you think Diop fared with Ogbonna coming back?
I mean, I know they conceded 2 goals, but it was 2 set pieces.
Yeah.
I said in the preview that Ogbonna would come back in. It'd be them 2.
Yeah.
Because they are our best centre back partnership. And if you watch, there's a video on the West Ham's YouTube with the it's a behind the scenes video. It's basically the game with just purely sound. There's no commentary or anything. And the whole game you can hear Ogbonna commanded not just the defence but the midfield. And I think they've missed it.
And do you know what? That's something that I think Ogbonna has learned, because prior at the early start of his career at West Ham, he was the one that was getting shouted at all the time. And maybe he's been there for so long and realised when there's no one else there commanding beside him that he has to take up that role. And in theory, he's the most experienced centre-half now that's currently at the club, that he needs to take on that role. And it was great to see, to be honest, someone who liked to play centre-half, central defender as a footballer in general. That's what you want to see. You can't be quiet. You've got to command. You've got to be in control. You've got to visualise what's about to come to you. You've got to let the midfielders know that you need protection. You've got to let your keeper know that they are protected. It's fantastic to see when you see Oggy doing that. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan, never have been, but I'll give him credit when credit's due. I'm still not a fan of potentially Oggy getting Hammer of the Year, because I just don't agree with West Ham.
I think it's nailed on.
I know, but that's just another topic of conversation, I suppose, for another day. But I can't fault his performance. I thought he definitely helped Diop, and like you said, the 2 goals didn't really come from mistakes or anything from the 2 of them. Creswell, I thought he had a decent game against Chelsea.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I think he got the protection. I was surprised he got the protection in front of him from Lanzini.
Yeah.
For the first 60 minutes, Lanzini did actually do well tracking back. Make sure he didn't get too exposed.
Yeah,
I thought Rice and Souček done well with that. They sort of split the pitch between them. Like Rice covered the left-hand side of the pitch to help Creswell.
Well, so
Souček
what about...
was more over the right-hand side with Fredericks?
Well, let's talk about Fredericks in particular, because actually a couple of times in the first half I thought he got found out a little bit. Not that I'm saying he was crap, but I think at some points they challenged that side, and they kept putting pressure on Fredericks. I thought he stood up to his own to a certain extent, but a couple of times the players got by him, and that was the biggest threat, I suppose, coming down from the Chelsea side was down that side. But it's really, we're not going to change that side though, are we? Fredericks is going to be the main right back, and we're going to move forward with that. Yeah.
At some point he'll get changed in the next week, because we said we've got like 4 games in 13 days or something stupid.
Yeah.
But when he does get changed, it'll be Ben Johnson. So either way, I'm not as worried as I was the Newcastle game last time, because last time we all knew that Pellegrini was going to play Zabaleta, and if he played Zabaleta, he'd get absolutely torn to shreds.
Yeah,
which he did. We lost the game 3-2. It should have been like 6-2. I think Sam Maxim that day missed like a hat trick of 1-on-1s, where they just played the ball behind Zabaleta and the guy was gone.
Yeah.
So either way, I mean, I think Fredericks will stay for now.
I'll tell you what then, Matt, what I suppose makes this one interesting before we kind of continue with the rest of the side is, do you see any changes from the game at Chelsea?
I'm going to say no. I would, and although I just said there and praise Lanzini, I would probably drop Lanzini. I'd move Fornals out to the wing, and I'd play Yarmolenko in that number 10.
Is that what you would do, or do you see Moyes?
No, I think Moyes will go. I don't think he'll change it for this game.
So this was the starting lineup against Chelsea, and what's interesting is, in theory, that wasn't the side that got the victory for West Ham. We performed good yeah, in the first half, etc. But it's kind of like an argument to be had to say, was it the substitutions that really changed the game for West Ham? And in particular, I know there was a lot of chat about Lanzini starting, and he didn't really have his best performance again, but he does favour him a lot. Do you see that? Do you see it being that same side that starts against Newcastle?
I mean, I don't think he had that bad a game, Lanzini. I mean, he didn't. I don't think he impacted it in an attacking sense as much as Dave Moyes would have wanted. But I thought on the whole, he was tidy. His passing was pretty accurate. He tracked back. You know what David Moyes is like? David Moyes said, well, that team started it. There is the argument to bring in like Yarmolenko because he made a difference and Jack Wilshere. But Moyes will go, well, they came in when 20 minutes to go when legs were tired. Whether he changes it tomorrow or against Burnley, I think he'll put the same team out tomorrow and he'll change it against Burnley. Because I think
it's like if you put Yarmolenko in the wing and start him, that's where the problem starts. That's not where we need to see, and that's not where we need. A bit like what you said beforehand. It's like what you did with Arnie. Imagine putting a Yarmolenko up supporting Antonio. But that's
what I would do, but I don't think that's what Moyes would do.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I mean, that's what I would do, 100%. But again, don't think he would do it.
As I said,
I think we'll see
Lanzini for him.
But I think we'll see Haller. I think I'll be surprised if Haller was to start. And I'm not ruling out Haller starting, like you said, for the Burnley game, but I think we'll definitely see time. If as long as Haller is fit, I wouldn't be surprised if we got to see him out on the pitch for 20, 25 minutes to give him a run out. What's your thoughts?
I can see it, but I'm worried that we're only going to see it if we're in a position where it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I have a feeling if we're struggling chasing a game, I don't think Moyes won't do it.
Yep.
Say we're 2-0 down with 20 minutes to go. You could take off Lanzini, Fornals, or Lanzini, Bowen, and Antonio, and go Yarmolenko, Haller, I don't know, Silva. You could change your front three and go for 3 more players because you're 2-0 down, it doesn't matter. But Dave Moyes wouldn't do that. You're up with 20 minutes to go. I could see him taking off like Fornals or Bowen, moving Antonio onto the wing and putting Haller up front. It's just the weird way that David Moyes' mind works.
Certainly is, mate. It certainly is. But, there's a lot of comments coming in saying some people are saying don't change a winning team. I get that. To a certain extent. But I do think that, sometimes a certain West Ham that turns up are reasonably predictable. I think, early on in the Chelsea game at the start, albeit we had a couple of chances, the gap started to open up between Lanzini and Antonio, the midfield and Antonio. And at certain points, Antonio was dropping back and he was left up top. And like we saw when Yarmolenko came on, when there was that little bit of support, you could find the ball. Jared Bowen could look up, or whoever the player was could look. I think it was Antonio actually that fed the ball through to him. It was a great ball through to Yarmolenko. That sort of player. I mean, people are talking about Wilshere as well. I mean, Wilshere got a run out. It was nice to see. I thought he was reasonably quiet, although he was effective for one of the particular chances that West Ham had. It's just his cleverness, his ability to just put the slightest of deft touches on a ball, etc. That's the difference of quality that he can bring to the side. So, yeah, I mean, there's comments in here, people saying that they would like to see Bowen, Yarmolenko and Antonio start up top together. People are saying pretty much don't change the side at all. Before we get on to our predictions, I mean, it's really tough. It is really tough, Matt, to predict a starting 11. I mean, we go with what we think Moyes will do, but even at that point, because of the current circumstances we're in with, like you said, 4 games in how many? 2 weeks, is it?
I think it's less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks, yeah. So we know there's going to be changes rammed up to the max. Get your predictions in. Let us know your thoughts on the game tomorrow. Before we go and tell you our predictions, tomorrow we're going to be doing a team news show that will go out live to YouTube. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. I think a couple of the guys will be doing that show. Then straight after that, we'll be doing a live watch along. We'll have guests coming on throughout the show, etc., to talk about their opinion on the game. So make sure you tune in for that show. And then straight after, we'll be doing our review of the games. We'll just be doing a summing up session of it. Let us know your thoughts, comments on everything that we're doing. Do you like it? Do you enjoy it? Anything you'd like to see a bit different, change? Let us know. Matt, it takes us on to that time. What are your get your predictions in for the game. Everyone who's watching, get your predictions in and we'll have a look at that. Matt, what's your predictions for tomorrow's game?
2-1 win.
Massive result. Do you know what's interesting? here's a question before I go into my predictions. Do you think the Chelsea game was has the potential to be the game that saved us this season?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, even as we talk right now, Watford losing 2-0 to Chelsea at half time.
Yeah.
I saw a stat from the Daily Mail on Thursday morning, and it said that since the restart, not including this was before this weekend, so any games this weekend don't count. After midweek set of games between the bottom five teams, there've been 16 games.
Yep.
In that one win against Chelsea, we picked up as many points as the other 4 teams had picked up in the other 15 games. Aston Villa had drawn twice, and Bournemouth had drawn once.
Yep.
So that win, they're saying the last 3 years, 36 points has been enough. They're saying this year it could even be 33 points. With the way the results are going, again, teams are getting battered. Instead of being 3 points front, we're basically 4, because Villa are on minus 27 or 24. Bournemouth are on minus 27. We're on minus 17, 18.
Yeah,
it's enough now that it's an extra points. We're basically 4 points clear, so that could potentially save our season.
Do you think? I mean, you've predicted West Ham 2-1 victory against Newcastle tomorrow. I'll tell you what, let me go into my prediction. Oh, it's a tough one. Everyone knows I'm a half glass full sort of guy. So, I was at West Ham's last victory at St James's Park. Chicharito and Anderson just played their socks off that particular game. And I think if West Ham play with the relevant team selection, the best team selection we can do by giving a support mechanism to Antonio, whoever that be, we can press a side that is full of confidence. But when we press any side, we can offer something, and teams panic and struggle. So I'm going to go for a 2-1. No, I'm not. I'm not going to copy you, Matt. I'm not going to copy you. What am I going to go for? 3-2 West Ham.
I don't know if you're going to be as good as Stell, because Stell predicted that last time.
Yeah, another
Yarmolenko to score. So
absolutely, another 3-2 West Ham win. And we'll take that. We'll take 3 points. I mean, people are in there saying they'll take a draw. Everyone will take a draw.
I was going to say, my heart says 2-1, my head says 1-1, only because if you'd have said before the Chelsea game, we play Chelsea home and Newcastle away, and we get 4 points.
Yeah.
We'd all snatch the hand off. And
What's interesting though, Matt, is you've got a side that are breathing confidence by scoring goals when prior to the pandemic they were not scoring goals, but they also ship goals. You've got a side like West Ham who score and ship, and we, you can pretty much guarantee we'll always get a goal. It feels like we'll always get a goal a game, apart from obviously the first 2 games of coming back. So I do think there'll be goals in this game. I certainly didn't predict the 3-2 victory against Chelsea, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. People are coming in saying there's going to be low points for the season for staying up, and I can see that. I can totally see that, especially with results going that way. Make sure 100% you tune in tomorrow. I can't explain to you some of the videos that people have sent us clips of the watch along. It's hilarious. Like, we were just having a right good bevy and joining up. So what we try and do is we understand that the game's live, but we try and make sure all our screens are in time with each other so we can have a laugh with each other. We know that sometimes the comments come through a little bit earlier, but do you know what? Who cares? It's a bit of fun. Matt, you'll be on tomorrow. So tune in for our team news show, our watch along, and our review. Matt, anything else you want to say before we go?
3 points coming home tomorrow. That's it.
Yeah. He's been, where is he? He's been Matt. I've been Anton. This is Irons United. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up, all that stuff. And we'll see you tomorrow. Come on, you Irons.